Hi, everyone. It is an honor to stand before you today and share a message that I believe will bring comfort, encouragement, and hope. Life is a way of testing us, and at times the weight of our pain can feel unbearable. And in the midst of our struggles, there is a truth that we can hold on to. God sees your pain. He understands your heeds, your heartaches, your fears, and your deepest struggles. No matter how alone or overwhelmed you may feel, know that you are not forgotten. God is with you every step of the way, and His love for you is unwavering. Today, I want to remind you of the powerful truth that even in your pain, there is purpose, and God is working in ways you may not always understand. So I welcome you to this moment of reflection, healing, and hope as we explore the profound truth that God truly sees and understands your pain. When you're walking through life, often it's not the moments of success that shape us, but the moments of pain. It's in those times when the weight of the world seems unbearable, when the ache in your heart feels like it's too much to handle, that God is closest to you. God sees your pain even when no one else does. He knows the tears you cry in the silence of the night, the doubts that invade your mind, the fears that keep you up long after the world has gone to sleep. And in those moments when you feel like you are alone, you must remember that God is there, watching over you, understanding your struggles, and holding you up in ways you might not even recognize. But God sees your pain. This is a truth that can be a lifeline in your hardest moments. We all face suffering, whether it's physical, emotional, or spiritual. Life has a way of throwing challenges at us when we least expect them. And sometimes it feels like the storm will never end. But here's the thing, God is not distant from your pain. He is not an observer from afar, detached from the trials you face. He is right there with you in the thick of it, walking beside you. Even in your darkest hour, God sees your struggles, your brokenness, your exhaustion. And He's working in ways that you might not fully comprehend. And when we experience pain, it's easy to wonder if anyone understands. You may feel like you're facing a battle that nobody else could ever relate to. But God does. He has seen the pain of humanity since the beginning of time. Think about the countless stories in the Bible of individuals who faced immense suffering. Job lost everything, his wealth, his health, and his family. Yet through it all, God saw his pain and was with him in his suffering. Jesus, the Son of God, experienced the ultimate pain when He was crucified. He was rejected, betrayed, and beaten, all while bearing the weight of the sins of the world. Jesus knows pain in ways that we can hardly imagine. And because of His sacrifice, we can trust that He understands every ounce of our suffering. Our God does not promise a life free of pain. In fact, He tells us that in this world we will have trouble. And He also promises that He will be with us through it all. He promises that He will never leave us or forsake us. And He's the Good Shepherd, guiding us through the valleys, holding our hands when we can't stand on our own, and carrying us when we can't take another step. He sees the pain that others may never notice, the suffering that others may never acknowledge. He sees it all, and He cares. Even as God sees your pain, He also sees your potential. You may feel broken right now, but God does not define you by your struggles. He sees beyond the pain, the hurt, and the scars to the person you are becoming. You are not your pain. You are not defined by your wounds. You are a child of God, created with purpose, and He sees the greatness within you. Just as the sculptor sees the statue hidden within the marble, God sees the strength, the courage, and the resilience that are waiting to emerge from the depths of your pain. Your pain is not the end of your story. It's simply a chapter that is shaping you into the person God has called you to be. I know it's hard. When you're deep in pain, it can feel like there's no way out. It can feel like the weight you're carrying will crush you, like the darkness will swallow you whole. But I want you to remember this: God sees your pain. He has not abandoned you. Even when you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, even when you can't hear His voice, He is still there. He's still working. He is still present. Your pain is not wasted. It is refining you, strengthening you, and preparing you for the life that God has designed for you. The Bible says that God is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. He doesn't distance Himself from our suffering. He draws near. In fact, God often works most powerfully in the midst of our pain. It's in the moments of our greatest weakness that his strength is most apparent. When you feel like you have nothing left to give, God is able to step in and do what you cannot. His grace is sufficient, and his power is made perfect in your weakness. That is a promise you can hold on to in your darkest moments. God's love for you is not dependent on your circumstances. He loves you not because of your achievements or because you're always strong, but because you are his. You are his child, created in his image. He sees you. He sees the pain that you're in, but he also sees the heart that is beating within you, the soul that is crying out for peace, the spirit that longs for healing. God's love for you is constant, unwavering, and unconditional. He doesn't love you less when you're in pain. If anything, his love grows deeper because he knows what you're getting through. He wants to walk with you through it. The pain you experience might not go away overnight. And sometimes the healing takes longer than we want it to. But God is faithful, and he is working in you even when you can't see it. Just as a seed has to go through a process of breaking apart before it can grow into something beautiful, your pain may be breaking you open in ways that are necessary for your growth. Well, it may feel like it's too much, but know this, God is using it for your good. He is shaping you, preparing you for something greater, and the work he is doing in you will bear fruit. And there are going to be days when you feel like you can't go on. There will be moments when you question why you're enduring this pain, when it feels like the weight is too heavy to bear. But in those moments, I want you to remember this truth. God sees your pain, and he will not let you go through it alone. He is with you every step of the way. He's strengthening you, comforting you, and guiding you. And in the end, he will turn your pain into purpose. You might not understand the reasons behind your struggles right now, and you might not be able to see how it all fits together. But God has a plan for your life, and nothing is wasted in his hands. Every tear, every struggle, he will use it to shape you, refine you, and ultimately bring glory to his name. As a purpose for your pain. It might not make sense today, but there will come a time when you will look back and see how God used every single hardship to bring you to a place of strength and will and peace. So if you are walking through pain right now, I want you to take a moment and breathe. I want you to remember that God sees you. He sees your heart, your struggles, your fears, your dreams, and your hopes. He knows what you're going through, and he is right there with you. He will never leave you. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. God sees your pain, and he is working through it, even when you can't see the way forward. Trust in him. Trust that he is faithful. Trust that he will heal you, strengthen you, and bring you through to the other side. And in the meantime, know that you are never alone. God sees you. He loves you, and he will carry you through. Keep going. Your story is not over yet. The best is yet to come. God is close to you in your pain. When you're going through pain, it's easy to feel isolated, as if the world is moving on around you while you remain stuck in your struggle. But in those moments, God is not distant or indifferent to your suffering. He is right there with you, intimately aware of every tear you shed, every hurt you feel, and every moment you question if you can keep going. God doesn't abandon you when life gets hard. Instead, he draws near to you. His presence is a constant, even when you can't sense it. While others may not see the depth of your pain or understand what you're going, God sees it all. God's closeness during your pain is not just a passive observation. It is an active, compassionate presence. And he understands your suffering not only because he sees it, but because he has experienced the pain of humanity. Jesus, in his time on earth, endured unimaginable suffering, from rejection, betrayal, to physical torment. He knows what it feels like to hurt, to feel abandoned, and to struggle. So when you're in pain, you can find comfort in the fact that God truly understands. He's not an outsider looking in. He is the one who is with you, walking through the darkness alongside you. In those times when you feel most alone, God is working behind the scenes, even if you can't immediately recognize it. He is holding you up when you feel like you're going to fall, and he is providing strength when you think you have nothing left. And his presence may not always be felt in the way we expect, but it is always there. He is near, offering his peace, love, and grace in the midst of your pain. It's not always in grand gestures, but in the quiet moments, like a gentle whisper that reminds you that you are not alone, that you are deeply cared for, and that you are held by the Creator who understands your heart. This closeness should offer you comfort. Pain can make you feel vulnerable and exposed, but God's proximity in your suffering means that you never face it alone. He is your refuge, your strength, your source of peace. In your weakest moments, God is closest to you, working in ways that you may not see or understand in the present, but one day you'll realize that He was with you all along, carrying you through and helping you become stronger and more resilient. God's closeness in your pain is a promise that He will never leave you and that His love and comfort are with you, no matter the depth of your suffering. God understands your struggles. God understands your struggles in a way that goes beyond simply knowing what you're facing. He fully comprehends the emotional, physical, and spiritual weight that you carry because He has walked the path of suffering Himself. Jesus, who was both fully God and fully human, experienced the depths of human pain, from loneliness to rejection, from betrayal to physical torment. In His life on earth, He endured all kinds of trials and hardships, and in doing so, He identified with the struggles that we face. When you feel overwhelmed, burdened, or misunderstood, you can rest assured that God not only sees your pain, but also deeply understands it from a place of personal experience. God's understanding of your struggles is not just an intellectual comprehension, it is a compassionate and empathetic awareness. He doesn't stand at a distance and simply observe your hardship, but He enters into it with you. He understands the hurt of losing someone you love, the frustration of fighting through challenges that seem insurmountable, and the heartache of feeling like you're failing or falling short. He is not indifferent or detached from your present alongside you. In the moments when you feel like nobody truly understands, know that God does. He is intimately acquainted with your every difficulty. It's also important to recognize that God's understanding isn't just about knowing the pain itself, but also about knowing the deeper layers behind it. He sees the root causes of your struggles, the fears that drive your doubts, the wounds that shape your insecurities, and the desires that leave you feeling empty. He understands the complexities of your heart, even when you can't fully articulate what you're going through. God knows what lies beneath the surface, and His understanding is profound and complete. This deep awareness means that He can provide the exact comfort, guidance, and healing you need in the midst of your struggles. Because God understands your struggles, He is not a distant, disconnected deity, but a loving Father who is invested in your well-being. He wants to help you through your trials, not just by offering solutions, but by walking with you every step of the way. He offers His wisdom, His peace, and His strength, not as someone who is unaffected by what you're going through, but as someone who has known suffering and pain, and who loves you enough to be with you in it. God's understanding of your struggles is a reminder that you are never alone in journey. You are not alone in your pain. In times of pain, it can often feel like you're carrying the weight of the world by yourself. The isolation that comes with suffering can make it seem like no one understands. No one is there to help. And no one even notices the tears you shed. But the truth is, you are never truly alone in your pain. God is with you, walking beside you through every difficulty, offering His presence even when you feel isolated. In the darkest moments, when it seems like everyone else has moved on or is living their life without the burden you bear, remember that God has not abandoned you. He is right there, close to you, offering His comfort and love. When you feel alone, it's easy to believe that no one can relate to what you're experiencing. But God is not only aware of your pain, He has experienced suffering on a level that no human ever could. Jesus, in His life on earth, endured rejection, betrayal, physical torture, and ultimately the death of the cross. He knows the depths of pain and sorrow, and because of His sacrifice, He is able to relate to your struggles in a way that nobody else can. His empathy is boundless, and His love is unshakable. In your pain, you can turn to Him and find the comfort that only He can provide, knowing that He understands and is always with you. Not only is God with you, but He also works in your pain. You are not left to struggle on your own, trying to figure out a way to cope or to heal. God actively participates in your healing, strengthening you when you are weak, providing peace when you are overwhelmed, and helping you to carry your burdens, even though it may not always feel like it. God is working behind the scenes, using your pain to shape and refine you. He is using your struggles to develop your character, build your resilience, and deepen your faith. You are not alone in your pain because God is constantly at work in your life, helping you grow even in the most difficult of circumstances. Moreover, God has surrounded you with others who are part of His plan to help you through your pain. While human relationships can be imperfect, God uses people to offer support, encouragement, and love. You are part of a larger community, and through the love and kindness of others, God reaches you with His comforting presence. Even when it feels like the world is too busy or too indifferent to notice, God places people in your life to remind you that you are not alone. You are part of a family of believers, and together you can support one another, share each other's burdens, and walk through the pain together. God sees your potential beyond the pain. When you are in the midst of pain, it can be difficult to see anything beyond your current suffering. The weight of your struggles can cloud your vision, making it feel as though your pain is the only thing that defines you. But God does not see you solely through the lens of your struggles. While He's deeply compassionate towards your pain and walking with you through it, He also sees the person you are becoming. God knows the potential that lies within you, even when you can't see it for yourself. He sees your strength, your growth, and the resilience that is being forged through your trials. Your pain may seem overwhelming, but it is not the end of your story. God is working through your struggles to shape you into a stronger, wiser, and more compassionate person. He sees beyond the momentary discomfort and understands how each challenge contributes to the bigger picture of your life. In times of hardship, you may feel broken, but God sees you as someone who is being refined and prepared for something greater. He knows the depths of your heart, and He knows the potential that can only be unlocked through the very pain you are enduring. While you might be focused on surviving the present moment, God is focused on your future. He understands that your pain, though difficult, is part of the process of becoming the person He created you to be. God sees your potential as someone who will one day look back on this time with gratitude for how it shaped you. Your suffering is not in vain. It is an opportunity for you to grow in ways that would not be possible without facing the challenges in front of you. In God's eyes, you are more than just the sum of your struggles. You are a work in progress. And He is molding you into someone who can handle the blessings He has in store for you. God's vision of your potential goes far beyond your present circumstances. He sees the possibilities within you that may not be evident to anyone else. He sees the wisdom you are gaining, the character you are building, and the faith that is growing stronger with each passing day. Your pain will not define you. It will refine you. And when you come out on the other side, you will be more capable of fulfilling the unique purpose He has planned for your life. God sees not just who you are now, but who you will become, someone stronger, more compassionate, and more equipped to make a difference in the world. Your pain is refining you. Pain has a way of transforming us in ways we often don't expect or understand. It can feel as though it's breaking us, pushing us to our limits and beyond, leaving us questioning how much more we can take. However, in the midst of pain, something powerful is happening. The challenges we face are not merely obstacles, they are tools of refinement. Like gold being purified in fire, our pain is refining us. stripping away the unnecessary and revealing the strength and resilience within. It is through these difficult times that we often discover parts of ourselves we didn't know existed, and through the process, we become more who we are meant to be. Refinement doesn't happen easily or quickly. Just as the process of purifying gold takes time and intense heat, so too does the process of spiritual and personal growth through pain. In the moments when you feel weakest, you are often becoming the strong. The pain tests your limits and forces you to stretch beyond what you thought you were capable of, revealing your inner strength. What seems like an insurmountable challenge today may, in time, become a testimony of your resilience and growth. The discomfort you feel now is temporary, but the strength you gain from enduring it lasts a lifetime. Through pain, we are also refined emotionally and spiritually. It is easy to rely on our own understanding and strength when things are easy, but it is when we are in a struggle that we are very humbled. Pain strips away our pride and self-reliance, forcing us to lean on something greater than ourselves. This is where we grow in faith, where we learn to trust in God's plan even when we don't understand it. Pain teaches us the value of patience, perseverance, and trust. Ultimately, your pain is refining you for the purpose that lies ahead. Though it may not make sense now, God is using your struggles to prepare you for the future He has planned for you. The challenges you face today are molding you into someone who will be able to handle greater responsibilities, greater opportunities, and greater blessings. Your pain is not meaningless. It is a tool in God's hands, shaping you into the person who will fulfill your destiny. Through the refining process, you emerge stronger, more focused, and better equipped for the work God has called you to do. God's love for you is unconditional. God's love for you is not based on your actions, your achievements, or your ability to meet certain standards. Unlike the love we experience in the world, which can sometimes be conditional or dependent on how we behave or perform, God's love is unconditional. No matter what mistakes you make, no matter how far you stray, God's love remains constant and unwavering. This is a love that doesn't fluctuate with your circumstances or your emotional state. It's not a love that depends on how good you are, but rather when you are His beloved child. This unconditional love means that you are accepted for exactly who you are, with all of your flaws, imperfections, and struggles. God loves you not because of what you can do for Him, but simply because you are His creation. Even in moments of weakness or failure, His love does not diminish or fade. When you fall short, when you feel like you don't deserve love, God's love is still there, holding you up, offering grace, and reminding you that His love is never dependent on your performance. You do not have to earn it or work for it, because it is freely given to you always and forever. God's love is also unwavering in the face of your pain. When you're suffering, it may feel as though love is far away, but the truth is that God's love is closest to you during those times. He doesn't turn away when you are hurting or struggling. Instead, He comes closer, offering His comfort and presence. His love does not depend on how you feel or what you are going through. It remains constant, offering peace and strength even in the darkest moments. God's love is not a fair weather love, but a love that endures through all circumstances, always there to sustain and uplift you. Understanding that God's love for you is unconditional means that you can trust in His constant presence in your life. There's nothing you can do to make God stop loving you. And there's nothing you can do to make Him love you more. His love is already complete and perfect, and it is poured out on you without condition. This love is a foundation that you can build your life on, knowing that no matter what happens, you are always loved, always accepted, and always cherished by the Creator of the universe. God is close to the brokenhearted. When your heart is shattered, when you feel as though your world is falling apart, it's easy to believe that God is distant or uninterested in your pain. But the truth is, God is closest to you in your moments of brokenness. In times of sorrow, loss, and heartache, God does not stand apart. watching from a distance. He draws near to the brokenhearted, offering his comfort, compassion, and healing. His heart is moved by your pain, and he is always ready to provide solace, understanding, and peace when your own heart feels overwhelmed. In Scripture, we are told that God is close to those who are suffering, particularly those whose hearts are broken. This is not just a metaphorical closeness, but a genuine, active presence in your life. When you are grieving, when you are feeling the weight of emotional or spiritual pain, God is there walking alongside you. He does not judge or condemn you for your sorrow. Instead, he enters into it with you, meeting you in your pain and holding you in your weakness. His closeness brings a sense of comfort that no one else can offer, a peace that transcends understanding. When your heart is broken, it can feel as though there is no hope for restoration, but God sees beyond your current pain. His proximity to your brokenness allows him to begin the work of healing and restoration. God knows that pain can be transformative, and he uses these moments to bring about change within you. The process of healing may not happen immediately or in the way you expect, but God is actively working to mend the mess of your heart. His closeness means that you are never alone in your brokenness. He is there to help you through the process of rebuilding and healing, offering his grace and strength every step of the way. Even in your deepest pain, God's closeness offers hope. Though the journey through hard can feel long and overwhelming, God's love never leaves you and his presence remains constant. He does not promise a life free from brokenness, but he does promise to be there with you through it all. As you lean into him during your most difficult moments, you will come to experience his nearness in ways that are deeply comforting. God is close to the brokenhearted, offering his love, healing, and peace when your heart feels like it's in pieces. God's strength is made perfect in your weakness. In our weakest moments, when we feel the most incapable or broken, it can be difficult to see how anything good can come from our struggles. We often feel as though we need to be strong, capable, and perfect in order to achieve anything of significance, but God's strength works differently. God's strength is made perfect in our weakness, meaning that when we are at our lowest, he is able to display his power in ways that we could never imagine. Our limitations become the very space where God can show up most powerfully, because it is in those moments that we are fully reliant on his grace and provision. When we try to rely on our own strength, we often find ourselves exhausted, frustrated, or overwhelmed. We hit walls and our own resources run dry, but it is in these very moments of weakness that we are invited to experience God's strength. When we can no longer do things on our own, when we come face to face with our limitations, God's power takes over. He works in us and through us, not because of our strength, but because we've allowed him to move in our weakness. His strength does not depend on our ability to handle things. Rather, it depends on our willingness to trust in him, surrender our weakness to his mighty power. Okay, God's strength is perfected in our weakness because it is in those times that we are most aware of our need for him. We stop relying on our own abilities and begin to lean fully into his. In our weakness, we are open to his help, his guidance, and his provision. God's power is not limited by our weaknesses, but rather is magnified through them. When we are weak, we are reminded that we do not walk this journey alone. And God is carrying us in ways that we can never carry ourselves. His strength becomes evident not because we are strong, but because we allow his grace to work in us. It's in our weakness that we also experience God's grace in its purest form. Well, we are often tempted to try to prove ourselves, to show that we have it all together. But in our brokenness, we realize that it is God's grace that sustains us, not our own efforts. His strength is made perfect in our weakness because his grace shines brightest when we are vulnerable, when we admit that we need him. In these moments, God shows us that our greatest strength is found in our dependence on him. It's not about how much we can carry or handle. It's about allowing God to be our strength in every circumstance. Healing takes time, but God is faithful. Healing is a process and often doesn't happen as quickly as we would like. Whether it's emotional, physical, or spiritual pain, the journey to healing can feel slow, frustrating, and sometimes even impossible. We may feel like we'll never fully recover or that the wounds will never fully mend. However, the truth is that healing takes time, and during that time, God remains faithful. His faithfulness doesn't mean that our pain will end immediately, but it does mean that He is with us every step of the way, offering His love, comfort, and strength as we walk through the healing process. Even when healing feels delayed or uncertain, we can trust that God is faithful to fulfill His promises. He is the God who heals, and His timing is perfect. While we may not always understand why healing takes longer than we expect or why it doesn't come in the way we mean, we can rest assured that God's plan for our restoration is far greater than anything we could foresee. In our moments of impatience or doubt, we can find peace knowing that God is still at work in us, moving us closer to the healing and wholeness He promises. God's faithfulness in the healing process is not just about the destination, but about what happens during the journey. As time passes and healing continues, God uses the waiting period to shape us, strengthen us, and refine our character. We may not always see the growth happening, but in the midst of our pain, God is at work. He is teaching us to trust Him more deeply, to rely on His strength, and to find peace in His presence. Healing is not just the removal of pain, it is also the development of a deeper, more intimate relationship with God as we lean on Him through our suffering. Ultimately, healing takes time because God is not only interested in our immediate relief, but in our long-term transformation. He is faithful to complete the work He has begun us, and His love never falters, even when the process feels long. God's faithfulness is a constant reassurance that we are not alone in our pain, that our suffering is not wasted, and that one day we will experience the fullness of His healing. Even when we can't see it, God is at work, and in His perfect timing, He will bring us to a place of wholeness and peace. Every struggle has a purpose. It's easy to view struggles as meaningless or as obstacles that only serve to bring pain and frustration into our lives. When we face challenges, whether physical, emotional, or spiritual, it can feel like we are being tested in ways that are unfair or unnecessary. However, every struggle we face has a purpose, even if we don't immediately understand it. God, in His infinite wisdom, uses the difficulties in our lives to shape us and prepare us for what lies ahead. While the purpose may not always be clear in the moment, there is always a greater plan at work, one that is designed to help us grow and become more aligned with God's will for our lives. Struggles can be painful, but they also serve as opportunities for growth. Through hardship, we learn lessons that we might not otherwise have understood. It is in the toughest moments of life that we often experience personal growth, developing qualities like perseverance, patience, and resilience. And these challenges can push us to go beyond our comfort zones and to reach deeper within ourselves for strength that we never knew we had. The struggles that we face are refining us, preparing us for future challenges and opportunities, and equipping us to help others who may one day walk the same difficult path. While struggles may feel isolating, they also bring us closer to God. In times of hardship, we are reminded of our dependence on Him. When we are weak, He is strong, and our struggles often serve to strengthen our faith. God uses these moments to draw us nearer to Himself, teaching us to trust Him more fully. Struggles are a reminder that we don't have to walk through life alive. As we go through these tough times, we learn to rely on God's guidance, God's provision, and His comfort, making us more to His presence in our lives. In the end, every struggle has a purpose, and though we may not see it in the moment, we can trust that God is working all things together for our good. Our struggles are not in vain. They are part of a larger divine plan that is unfolding in ways we may not fully comprehend. The pain and hardship we endure now to become the foundation for greater things in the future, molding us into the person we were always meant to be. Through our struggles, God is shaping us for a higher purpose, one that will ultimately bring glory to Him and allow us to fulfill our calling in ways we never imagined. God will turn your pain to be purpose. When you're going through pain, it can be difficult to see beyond the immediate suffering, and the weight of your circumstances might feel unbearable, and you may wonder if it will ever. In those moments, it can be hard to believe that anything good could come from your struggles. But God has a way of taking even the most painful experiences and turning them into something purposeful. What feels like a setback or a period of torment can be the very thing that God uses to shape you, refine your character, and equip you for a greater purpose. The pain you endure is not wasted. It is part of a larger plan that is being woven together for your benefit and for His glory. As you navigate through the pain, you may not immediately see how it could lead to something greater. However, God often uses our pain to build empathy, strength, and resilience that can help others who are facing similar struggles. And the very experiences that break us can also become the tools that allow us to reach out and help others heal. What you've been through can give you the ability to connect with people in a deeper way, offering them comfort and hope, because you've walked the same difficult path. Your pain has the potential to become a testimony of God's faithfulness, showing others even in the darkest times there is purpose and redemption. God is able to turn your pain into purpose by revealing the lessons that are hidden in the midst of suffering. Sometimes pain teaches us things we would never learn in times of ease. It builds character, molds our faith, and helps us to develop a perspective that looks beyond the present moment. Through hardship, we often grow in ways we never expected, discovering strengths we didn't know we had. These lessons become a vital part of our journey, shaping us into the person God has called us to be, preparing us for the purpose He has for our lives. As we look back, we can often see how God used our pain to bring us to a place of greater understanding, purpose, and a mission. Ultimately, God will turn your pain into purpose because He is a master at redeeming brokenness. Nothing you go through is ever beyond His ability to use for good. When you trust Him with your pain, He will transform it into something that brings hope and that brings you just to you, but to those around you. In the end, your story of overcoming pain will become a powerful testimony of God's grace, showing the world that even in our deepest struggles, there is a divine purpose waiting to be revealed. Trusting God's faithfulness. Trusting in God's faithfulness means recognizing that He will always be true to His word, no matter the circumstances you are facing. It is an assurance that even in the midst of trials, God's promises remain unchanged. Life is full of ups and downs, and it can be easy to doubt or lose hope when things don't go as planned. However, trusting in God's faithfulness means leaning on the truth that He is with you through every moment, and He will never leave or forsake you. This faithfulness is not dependent on how perfect your situation is, but on His unchanging character. God's faithfulness is rooted in His nature, and it has been proven time and time again throughout history. When we look at stories of the Bible, we see how God has consistently kept His promises to His people, even when they were unfaithful or doubtful. As His word is reliable, and when He says He will provide, protect, and guide, we can trust that He will do exactly that. Trusting in God's faithfulness is about believing that His plans for us are good, even when we cannot see the bigger picture. It is a faith that remains firm, regardless of the challenges we may face along the way. In times of uncertainty, trusting in God's faithfulness brings peace and comfort. It allows you to rest in the knowledge that no matter how long it takes or how difficult it may seem, God will bring you through it. His time is perfect and His ways are higher than ours. Trusting in God's faithfulness means surrendering control and acknowledging that He knows what is best for us. It's about knowing that even when we don't have all the answers, God is working behind the scenes for our good. And this trust gives us the strength to keep going, even when the road ahead seems unclear or impossible. Ultimately, trusting in God's faithfulness is an act of surrender and confidence in His ability to handle every aspect of our lives. It's the understanding that no matter the trials, God is always faithful to fulfill His promises. When we trust in Him, we are choosing to believe that He is bigger than any obstacle we face, and that His love for us is greater than any challenge. His faithfulness gives us the hope to endure, the courage to keep moving forward, and the assurance that He will never fail us. In conclusion, it is clear that God sees our pain, understands our struggles, and walks with us through every trial we face. I know the road may be difficult, and the pain may seem overwhelming. We can take comfort in knowing that each struggle has a purpose. And every moment of suffering is used by God to shape us, refine us, choose something. His love for us is unconditional and His faithfulness is unwavering, even in our weakest moments. As we trust in His plan, we can rest in the assurance that He will turn our pain into purpose, and that His strength is made perfect in our weakness. God is always close to the brokenhearted, offering his comfort and healing when we need it most. In times of uncertainty, trusting in his faithfulness brings peace and a renewed sense of hope. Healing takes time, but through it all, God remains faithful to complete the work he has begun in us. Our pain is not in vain. It is part of a divine process that brings us closer to his heart and transforms us into the people we were always meant to be. So no matter where you find yourself today, know that God sees you, understands you, and is with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. In every moment of struggle, trust in his faithfulness and remember that you are never alone in your pain. The journey may be long, but with God by your side, you can be confident that he is using every part of it to fulfill his good purpose for your life. Keep your eyes on him and trust that his promises are true. He is with you always. Thank you so much for taking the time to read through this message. It has been a true privilege to share these words with you. And I hope they have brought encouragement, strength, and a deeper sense of God's presence in your life. Always remember you are never alone. And no matter what challenges you face, God is faithful and will never leave your side. Take care, stay strong, and trust in his plan. Goodbye for now. May God's peace and blessings continue to guide you every step of the way.